So yesterday I had the 28th ever 30 dime release of my career in college football. And that means the 21 years since I created these sites. And there are two great things about having that play yesterday. First, I won it with Wake Forest taking care of business against Rutgers. And two, the game kicked off at 11 o'clock Eastern Time in the morning. And that means that the game was over early. I won it early. And then the rest of the day, I could just relax and watch the college football semifinal games without a worry in the world. That, my friends, is nirvana. So, first of all, Happy New Year's to you all. But I got to tell you about the genesis of that play yesterday before I move forward. The minute it was announced that Rutgers was going to accept the bid to be the substitute team against Wake Forest once Texas A&M dropped out, game, set, match. I knew right then that was going to be my biggest play of the entire college bowl season. There's not going to be another 30 dime play. That was it. I knew right then. I didn't have to handicap the game. I didn't have to do anything. I knew right then Wake Forest was going to kick Rutgers' ass. Because if you got that play yesterday from me, you saw in my analysis that when Rutgers couldn't win its final home game with a bowl bid at stake against Maryland, a Maryland Terrapins team that had come into Rutgers having lost 5 of its last 6, and Maryland kicked Rutgers' ass, well, how in the world, with 8 days preparation, was Rutgers going to contend against the Wake Forest team that was a hell of a lot better than Maryland? 30 dime play, 30 dime winner, and you got it as the half price play of the day. So, today, I'm going for college football winner number 11 out of 15. And again, I'm going on the early card. This time, the game starts at noon Eastern time. It's the Outback Bowl. Kicks off at, again, noon Eastern in Tampa. It's Arkansas and Penn State. And this time, it's a Raise the Bar 20 dime release. And again, you get it for half price simply by using coupon code RAISE, RAISE. What, do you think I was going to forget how to spell the damn word raise? And that is the coupon code to get it for half price. Now, in terms of the free picks, I'm on a 31-13 run, and that is college football and NFL combined. I took a split yesterday. I gave you Alabama, and then I lost with Michigan. Boy, a lot of people lost with Michigan, not only here at the site, but also in the gambling public as well. But boy, Michigan just could not contend with Georgia. Props real quick going out to Chuck O'Brien, who yesterday cashed in with his monster play, the 10th ever 150 dime college football release of his career, with Alabama getting the job done over Cincinnati. And before I get to my free pick here today, and I'm going to take a look at the late game in the Sugar Bowl clash between Mississippi and Baylor, can I just point out one thing? There has been a guy here at the site, Tommy Brunson, who not only today is going for football winner number 20 out of 37, 28 out of 37, not only going for college football winner number 9 out of 11, but he's going for total winner number 15 out of 19. And that is NFL and college football totals combined. And today, the total winner is on the Fiesta Bowl. That's the Oklahoma State Notre Dame game. But I just want to tell you something. As a guy who's been in this business for 30-some years, as a guy who's been gambling even longer than that, I will occasionally dip my not toes, into the totals pool. I know my limitations. And totals, that's just not my bag. Sides, teasers, that's me. Totals, nah. It's just not my bag. This guy has won 14 of his last 18 totals over the past 6 weeks in the NFL and college football combined. That is one of the best totals runs I have seen from any handicapper ever in the 21 years since I created the site. It's just an amazing run. So props going out to Tommy Brunson. Okay, let's get to the complimentary play here tonight on the Sugar Bowl game between Mississippi and Baylor. You have an interesting contest here with Mississippi. And one of the reasons I'm going with Mississippi in this game is because I saw the way Mississippi played in the Egg Bowl against Mississippi State. And I was quite impressed with how I saw Matt Corral playing in that game. Matt Corral has been bothered by an ankle injury ever since the middle of October when Mississippi went to Tennessee. And Matt Corral literally put the Rebels on his shoulders and carried them to the win in that game. I mean, it was just a magnificent performance. He ran the ball 30 times for 195 yards in that game. Now, Matt Corral is going to be a first-round draft pick come April. Is that when I guess that's when they're going to start the draft, April or May this year. Him and Kenny Pickett from Pittsburgh. This guy, on the year threw for nearly 3,400 yards. He ran for nearly 600 yards. But in that game, he suffered an ankle injury. And he re-aggravated it a couple weeks later. So in the Egg Bowl, I noticed that his mobility, which had been limited in the second half of the season, he was moving a little better. I thought he was a guy that was going to probably opt out, like so many other players had when bowl season arrived. But he didn't. And as far as I can tell, nobody else on Ole Miss did either. And Ole Miss had been, in the second half of the season, missing one of his tight ends, missing a couple of their wide receivers, missing one of their starting offensive linemen. A number of those guys are going to be back for this game. And I read in the Clarion Ledger Journal, which is the paper in Mississippi that covers Ole Miss extensively, that Matt Corral said that the 2 weeks that he had between the end of the regular season after the Egg Bowl and the start of the Sugar Bowl practices for the Rebels, that it was the first time that he had truly an opportunity to rest that ankle injury and have it fully recover. And I thought to myself, mobility is such a big part of his game that he is going to be even more effective here tonight for Mississippi. I know Baylor has had a good season, but when I think about Baylor, I keep coming back to a couple of games, and it just gives me a pause. Yes, they beat Oklahoma State in the Big 12 championship game 21-16, but in your regular season finale at home, how do you let Texas Tech hang around 27-24? How in your second to last regular season game do you only manage to win in Manhattan against Kansas State 20-10? I get that the week prior you knocked off Oklahoma at home 27-14 and maybe it was a letdown game. But listen, before you played Oklahoma, you went to TCU and you got manhandled 30-28. You lost that game as a 7.5 point road chalk. I don't understand that at all. I look at Ole Miss, and you're coming from the far superior conference, obviously, a team that not only knocked off Mississippi State in the Egg Bowl 31-21, knocked off Texas A&M 29-19, have some big wins along the way. I mean, that win at Tennessee, you outscored Tennessee 31-26. Yeah, so they got hammered by Alabama, but a lot of teams got hammered by Alabama this season, but outscored Arkansas 52-51 in one of the most exciting games I saw this season. This is a team that can do a lot of things well. And the thing that nobody gives Mississippi credit for this season is that this Ole Miss defense played exceptionally well. Is it in Baylor's category? No. But I think some of the gaudy defensive stats that Baylor put up is by virtue of playing in the Big 12. I think Mississippi is the better team, and I think this price is dirt cheap. So that's why I like Ole Miss tonight as your complimentary play. Now, your other games on the board, I went back and forth. I handicapped the Rose Bowl game between Ohio State and Utah every which way but loose. Come on, sing that theme song from that Clint Eastwood movie. You're thinking about it right now with the orangutan, aren't you? You can hear that Eddie Rabbit song, can't you? Every which way but loose, right? But anyway, listen, I loved Utah in both the games against Oregon. The Pac-12 championship game and 2 weeks earlier, and they really annihilated the Ducks in both of those games. It's called the transitive theory in geometry. And what I'm referring to is, of course, Oregon went into Columbus the second week of the season. They took care of business against the Buckeyes. So If Oregon beat Ohio State and then Utah beat Oregon twice, doesn't that mean that Utah ought to beat Ohio State too? Well, listen, I hated geometry, even though I got straight A's 100 years ago in high school. What can I tell you? I don't know if it holds true or not. It's a tough game. I will tell you this. Reportedly, from what I read in one of the Utah newspapers, Ohio State returned a hell of a lot of their tickets, and Utah's fans scooped them up. Supposedly, Utah's going to have over 30,000 fans, 30,000 tickets sold for that game, compared to about 13,000 for Ohio State. So there could be an excess of 50 to 60,000 Utah fans traveling to Pasadena to see this game. And it makes sense because Ohio State started off the season what mattered most. You were looking to play in the college football championship. Your season came to an end when Michigan humiliated you. Okay, you're playing in the Rose Bowl. Do you really care? Right? For Utah, 10 years in the Pac-12, and you finally made it to the Pac-12 championship, made it to the Rose Bowl, and you won the Pac-12 championship by knocking off Oregon. This is what matters for the Utes. They're a strong defensive team. They're going to pound the ball and run the ball. And you see how Ohio State couldn't stop the run, right, against Michigan, against Oregon. The game plan's there. But Ohio State has an offense. Even though two of the top wide receivers pulled out of the game, even though a couple of the key defensive players pulled out of the game, you got to be concerned with that. The other thing is the great unknown. How many other players aren't going to be available for Ohio State today? Is COVID going to strike? Are other players at the last moment that we're not aware of not going to play today for the Buckeyes? I don't know. It's a damn tough game, and I've gone back and forth. I kind of still think Ohio State has enough offensive firepower to win this game, and yet maybe Utah keeps it close. So again, listen, I handicapped it, as I said, every which way but loose. I think I throw it out there for you, but I think it's a hard game. It's just one that I would personally just stay away from. Other than the Arkansas-Penn State game, which is my best bet, I have no interest in the other games. I think Kentucky probably beats Iowa. Notre Dame, Oklahoma State, my God, I wouldn't watch that game, let alone bet on it. So that'll do it for today. I wish you well, guys, and talk to you again soon.